All right, y'all. So since we are heading into the new year, I want to go ahead and give you guys a ranking of every horror movie I watched this year, from least favorite to favorite. Before I get into that, though, I just want to give a huge shout out and thank you to every single one of you who liked, shared, commented, just supported all the content this year. Truly means the world to me, and this couldn't be possible without you guys, honestly. I am so passionate about horror. I have a deep rooted love for this genre. Talking about these movies is something I absolutely love to do, and I am so thankful that I found the community to be able to do so. If I'm being honest, a year ago I didn't even know this would be possible, but best believe that I'm going to capitalize on this opportunity. So much content coming for you guys in 2024. The goal this year is to reach 10K followers on TikTok and my YouTube channel. So, guys, just please keep supporting. Truly, truly appreciate it. It genuinely means the world to me. We're working. Now, I wasn't able to see every horror release that I wanted to see this year, but of the 14 films that I did see, I just want to preface this by saying I enjoyed all of these films in some capacity. Again, I enjoyed all these films in some capacity, but at number 14, we got Sick. This is a slasher that is set during the pandemic. Two friends go out into the cabin to quarantine, only to be stalked by a masked killer. No pun intended on that one. This movie actually piqued my interest because I seen Kevin Williamson was one of the writers on it, and if you are familiar with him at all, he's most notorious for his writing in the Scream movies, which I believe to be the best horror franchise of all time. But interesting concept that I feel had a lot of potential, but ultimately this one just fell flat in the end. I really enjoyed the first two acts of this movie. There's very good use of the slasher elements that we're used to, that we're familiar with. Very good chase sequences. The two lead actors I actually thought were really solid too. But it was the third act with the killer reveal and their motive that ultimately lost me. Still a pretty solid watch though if you're into slasher movies. Number 13, we got Beau is Afraid. Very divisive film. One that I found myself liking. But this isn't for everybody. This is essentially 2.5 hours of Ari Aster trying to fuck you up in any way possible. Emotionally, physically, mentally, psychologically. This movie is an absolute psychedelic trip. Well casted all around, solid performances, great piece of filmmaking, just overall from cinematography, directing, sound design, all that. You know what you're getting with an Ari Aster film. But this movie is so heavy that 2.5 hours is just way too damn much. A film that most people probably won't watch more than once, and that is something that is completely understandable. At number 12, we got It Lives Inside. And honestly, if I had seen more horror movies this year, this would probably be higher on my list because this genuinely was a pretty good film. I just don't think I enjoyed it more than the ones that are in the spots above it. I love international horror, or just horror that can play on international themes. I think it's a fresh take that is definitely needed, and this was a good example of that. But the thing about these possession and creature movies is they tend to fall flat at the end where they reveal the creature, and unfortunately I think this was one of those movies that was a victim of that. But again, I thoroughly enjoyed this film. The sound design is amazing for this movie. The score, mwah. There's some really good jump scares. Not a lot. I think this is more of a slow burn subtlety type horror, which I tend to gravitate towards anyways. But I'd definitely check this out if you haven't. I feel like this went a little bit under the radar. All right. Here's where I'm probably going to lose a lot of people because at number 11, I have Evil Dead Rise. Now, before you guys go batshit bonkers, again, this is another film that I thoroughly enjoyed. Just not as much as those other ones. I'll also be the first to say I'm not a huge fan of these Evil Dead movies. The franchise as a whole is something that's never really piqued my interest. I tried to watch the original this year, and it was one of the worst movies I've ever watched. And I don't say that lightly, okay? Because I know how beloved the original Evil Dead is. I do love the 2013 remake, though. I do believe it is one of the best horror remakes of all time. And this was a solid installment in the franchise. I mean, the kills were there, the intensity was there, the sound design, the performances all the way around. This was a really solid movie. Honestly, the only reason it is this low is because I've rewatched this movie 3 times now, and upon rewatch, it just doesn't hit the same for me. And for me, the rewatch factor is just something I really value. But this one didn't do it for me after those couple rewatches. Still good though, nonetheless. Please don't come at me. Kicking off the top 10, we have Brightwood. This is a indie horror sci-fi film that I had the privilege of getting an early screener to. If you know me, you know I love indie horror. Anything independently made, anything in that territory is something I will always support. So this was something that I was extremely excited to get into. A movie that's very easy to get into for a multitude of reasons. You got the short runtime. You have the concept in itself. A couple that gets stuck in the woods on a jog. Kind of this time loop sort of thing. I don't want to spoil too much. This is something I'd probably go into blind. But I thoroughly enjoyed this, guys. For this being an independent film, very impressive with what they were able to do with a low budget. If you guys are looking to get into indie horror at all, this is a good place to start. At number 9, we have Cobweb, a movie that I actually just checked out last night. I told myself I did not want to make this list until I seen this movie, and I am glad I made that decision because, man, this was a solid fucking flick, guys. Take this lightly when I say this. Do not compare the two movies, but this really reminded me of Barbarian in the sense of unpredictability. They absolutely capitalize on that aspect because this movie keeps you on your toes and really has you questioning which direction this shit is going in. This one was really well casted. I enjoyed everybody, but specifically Lizzie Kaplan, Anthony Starr as the parents are so fucking unnerving. Also, I love how much they embraced and played on the theme of Halloween in this movie. This is certainly a Halloween movie and definitely one that you're going to want to turn on around spooky season every year. Last 10 minutes of this movie are pretty disappointing, but that does not take away from how good the rest of the film is. I genuinely don't understand why this was limited to certain theaters across the world. I would have absolutely loved to go see this and experience it on the big screen. At number 8, I have Hell House LLC Origins, The Carmichael Manor. Horror is subjective, so everyone has different opinions, but this very well may be the scariest movie on this list. Not best, but scariest. It's found footage at its finest with some very unnerving sequences and a phenomenal and chilling score. Definitely check this out if you love found footage movies. At number 7, and again, this may be controversial, but I have Saw X. There was almost nothing I didn't like about this movie, but the 6 movies that come before it on this list, I like them a little bit more. I'm sorry. I was blown out of the water with how good this was, though, genuinely. For this being the 10th installment in the franchise, I had no expectations. I had no hopes. Thought this was kind of just going to be a cash grab. Boy, was I pleasantly surprised. Tobin Bell in his bag on this one. This is easily his best performance, and the dude's pushing 80 years old if he's not already. That is just mind-boggling in the best way. At number 6, I have the highly acclaimed Evil Lurks. This movie is probably one that unfortunately suffered from a little bit of that overhype. I still loved this movie, though. This shit was absolutely wicked. I haven't even got to do a review on it yet because I wanted to rewatch it to really digest. But, guys, if you haven't seen this shit, you need to go check it out ASAP. This is a must-watch for 2023. Kicking off the top 5 with a bang, I have the absolute mindfuck of a movie that is Infinity Pool. I've reviewed this already, so I won't go too in-depth. Mia Goth, Masterclass. This movie is fucking insane. Go watch this shit. At number 4, we have the absolute spectacle that is Godzilla Minus One. Now, a lot of people would say this isn't a horror film, but I would say that if you've watched the movie, you know there are way too many themes and sequences and just overall vibes for this not to be considered a horror movie. This is Godzilla on the grandest scale. This is Godzilla at its peak. This is Godzilla deep in that bag we be talking about, okay? Such an exhilarating experience from start to finish. Such a wonderful script. Very solid cast all around. Just overall, this was a beautiful piece of cinema. At number 3, I'm showing some love to my boy John Carver because this, Eli Roth, Thanksgiving, massive hit. This is an instant holiday classic. This will be played at every Thanksgiving. This is a very well done slasher movie from start to finish. Excellent kills, excellent character design in terms of our killer, and just an overall well executed homage to the throwback slashers that we all know and love. Very excited for the sequel and very excited to see where we go from here. This looks like it has the potential to be a very solid slasher franchise. And I just need Eli Roth doing horror all the time. I mean, we deserve this guy, okay? Coming in at number 2, don't think this was a surprise to anybody that this is this high. Scream 6, baby. Come on now. I've almost talked about this movie ad nauseum now. I did a full in-depth discussion on YouTube about this if you guys want to go check it out. But this movie gave me absolutely everything I had hoped for. We got a change of scenery. I mean, that New York setting is so fucking dope for Ghostface. The kills were gruesome. This is easily the most brutal version of Ghostface we've ever gotten. Loved the cast. It's truly a shame that we it's truly a shame that we won't be getting a continuation to the story that was created with Scream 5 and Scream 6. But man, watching Scream 6 now hits different, okay? It just hits different. I love this movie. And at number 1, we got the Rocka Rocka Boys with Talk to Me. If you know me personally, then you know this is a movie that I was gassing up for nearly a year before it even hit theaters. This was a movie that I had so many expectations for, and let me tell you, they absolutely delivered. This might have been my favorite theater experience of the year. This was just a fucking thrill to watch on the big screen. Some truly shocking and disturbing sequences, along with shocking and disturbing imagery. Dude, for this being Rocka Rocka's first film, these boys were in their fucking bag with this one. Like, this one left me as speechless as I am right now, and it's crazy to me. I almost can't even get the words out to express how I feel about this movie, and it's been almost 6 months. The cast was phenomenal. The score was insane, along with the soundtrack. This was some of the most innovative camera work I've seen all year from a horror director. Just so captivating, some of the shots that they were able to pull off. This is a movie that I've watched at least 5 times now, and I fall more in love with it upon rewatch every single time. The writing is so damn good in this film. I mean, this movie is heavy. The themes that it plays on, the trauma that it plays on, just overall so well executed. I wouldn't expect anything less from A24, but man, I'm just so glad that this movie lived up to the hype for me. That is my ranking though, guys. Drop your thoughts below. Let me know what you think. Like I said in part 1, I do know there is still multiple films that I haven't seen from the year 2023 that I'm going to make sure I get to. But if there's anything in particular you think I missed, maybe a favorite of yours that didn't make the list, maybe something that I did put on the list that was controversial, let's go ahead and talk about it.